Yo, what's up guys, Squid Boys back again with another video on the channel. So many times in the NBA we see talented young players who are not really reaching their full potential or what they used to be. Sometimes it's because they aren't really fitting in with their team style of play, or maybe it's because they aren't getting enough minutes on the court. So today we're going to be talking about the top 4 players who really need to be traded in order to kind of restart their own career. Keep in mind this list is in no specific order, so let's get started. Alright, so to start off this list, we got Greg Monroe of the Milwaukee Bucks. Only after 1 year of playing for the Bucks, Monroe is already being shopped around for another team to scoop him up. It's not like he's a bad player or anything, but he just doesn't seem to fit in on the Bucks style of play. With the way Milwaukee drafted and built their team over the years, they prefer players that are long and lengthy who can play and defend all positions. And with Monroe being more of a traditional type of center who stays around the rim, he's forced to being like the 4th option on this young roster. Nevertheless, Greg Monroe is still a talented player who deserves to have a bigger role, which he would get on another team. Possible teams that could trade for a player like Greg Monroe include the Portland Trail Blazers, the Houston Rockets, and the New Orleans Pelicans, who all need a solid big man on their starting 5. But the team that I think would fit Greg Monroe best is the Charlotte Hornets. Although they lost Al Jefferson to free agency this year, they still have players like Cody Zeller, Roy Hibbert, and Spencer Hawes that all can play the center position. However, none of these players really have any strong low post scoring abilities, and trading for Greg Monroe would definitely help them in that regard and give the Hornets another offensive scoring option. This is what the trade would look like. Hornets would just receive Greg Monroe, and the Bucks would receive Spencer Hawes and Jeremy Lamb, which both can help the Bucks space the floor better and increase their bench depth. Additionally, a 2018 first round Hornets pick would be given to the Bucks to make this deal a little bit more favorable for them. Next up, we got Brandon Knight of the Phoenix Suns. With the emergence of Devin Booker, we can all see that either Brandon Knight or Eric Bledsoe will have to be traded if they don't want to be coming off the bench. Personally, I think that Bledsoe is an overall better player than Brandon Knight, so he should stay with the Suns. Still, Brandon Knight has a lot of superstar potential, only being 24 years old, and I believe that he can reach that next level on another team. Possible teams that could use a player like Brandon Knight include the Philadelphia 76ers, the Utah Jazz, and the Brooklyn Nets. But I believe the best place for Brandon Knight to go to is the Sacramento Kings. With the loss of Rajon Rondo in free agency, the Kings desperately need another solid guard in their backcourt. They still have Darren Collison to play starting point guard, however, and if the Kings feel that he is ready to be a starter, then they can simply move Brandon Knight over to the starting shooting guard position. This is what the trade would look like. Kings would receive Brandon Knight and PJ Tucker, while the Suns would acquire Rudy Gay and Ben McLemore. This helps the Suns by giving them another high-scoring option in Rudy Gay and a potential prospect in Ben McLemore, who may need a change in scenery to reach a higher level of play. This also helps the Kings because now they have a solid guard to pair along with Darren Collison and a veteran small forward in PJ Tucker. Additionally, the Kings get rid of 2 players who had recent conflict with the front office and were wanting to be traded anyways. Now we're going to be talking about Jahlil Okafor of the Philadelphia 76ers. Okafor has only been in the NBA for 1 year, but I already feel like he needs to switch teams. It's really between him and Nerlens Noel that has to go, but I believe that Okafor has more superstar potential, so it would be better for him to move to another team. Possible teams that could trade for a player like Jahlil Okafor include the Boston Celtics, the Houston Rockets, and the Charlotte Hornets, but I believe that the best place for Okafor to go to is the Washington Wizards. As the East continues to get stronger each year, and as the Wizards seem to be becoming worse each year, they desperately need another player to help them bring them back to the playoffs. And I believe that Jahlil Okafor can help them get there. It is a gamble and this may take some time, but it is a better plan than going full on tank mode, and I think that this trade would be a step in the right direction. This is how the trade would go down. It would be a 3-team trade between the Washington Wizards, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Wizards would just receive Jahlil Okafor, which now gives them a strong low post scoring threat and a new big 3 grouping them up with John Wall and Bradley Beal that can maybe contend for a top seed in the Eastern Conference in a couple of years. The Lakers would receive Marcin Gortat and Robert Covington, which helps the Lakers with their front court by adding Gortat and gives them another scoring option coming off the bench in Robert Covington. In this trade, the Philadelphia 76ers would receive Lou Williams, Nick Young, and Trey Burke. These 3 players can all help the 76ers stretch the floor better and increase their bench depth. Additionally, the 76ers would receive a 2017 first round draft pick from the Wizards to make this trade a little bit more fair. Finally, we are at the last player who I think needs to be traded in order to kind of restart his own career. And this is a pretty obvious one. Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. From the time Love has been with the Cavaliers, his career stats in every single category has decreased. And that's understandable when you're playing with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. But these drops have been so significant that they changed Love from being an all-star caliber player to just slightly above average. In my opinion, I feel like it would just be best if Kevin Love moves to another team. Possible teams that could trade for a player like Kevin Love include the New Orleans Pelicans, the Phoenix Suns, and the Denver Nuggets. But I believe the best place for Kevin Love to go to is the Boston Celtics. With a solid roster and many draft picks in their possession, the Celtics are set to be contenders for a long time. But if they want to beat the Cavs or the Warriors in the next season or so, then they need to have a stronger front court. Adding Kevin Love would be the perfect power forward for them, as he can both stretch the floor and score in the post. This is what the trade would look like. The Celtics would just receive Kevin Love, and the Cavaliers would acquire Amir Johnson and Avery Bradley. Although Johnson isn't that great offensively, he still brings some well-needed defense to the Cavaliers roster. Also, Avery Bradley gives the Cavs an upgrade to their shooting guard position, as he's great on both offense and defense. All around, I think this would be a great trade for both parties and help them accumulate more wins. So yeah guys, those are the top 4 players who I believe need to be traded in order to save or kind of restart their own career. All of these players have a lot of potential to be great, but on their current team, they just don't seem to be fitting in or living up to expectations. So I think it would just be most beneficial for them to all change teams. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know to do more types of videos like this. Also, if you guys have your own thoughts and opinions on which NBA players should be traded, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace!